The hangar was silent after the storm. The air still carried the smell of burned metal. The floor was marked with scars of battle. Kara stood trembling, her pipe slipping from her tired hands. Elias leaned against a broken crate, his chest rising. Heavy, his face streaked with sweat and blood. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence was heavy, filled with what they had done. Kara's heart thundered in her chest. She had fought, she had stood. She was not nothing anymore. Elias gave her a tired smile. "Small but real, strong," he said, his voice weak but proud. Kara's eyes burned with heat. She whispered, "Not without you." Elias shook his head, his gaze firm. "No, not without." "You," the word struck her like light. For the first time, someone had given her equal ground. He did not call himself her savior. He called her his partner. Together, they had survived, but outside the hangar, whispers already spread. The Zyreen had lost, and their pride was torn. Some would want revenge. Others would fear the human. Others would curse the orphan who dared to fight. The galaxy was watching now. Kara knew their safety was not forever. Her body shook, her voice soft. What now? Elias looked at her, his eyes sharp even through. "Exhaustion, now we choose." She frowned. "Choose what?" His answer came steady, to keep running. Or to keep standing. The choice pressed heavy on her chest. She had always run. She had hidden in shadows. Lived like a ghost, but standing with him had changed her. She could not go back to nothing. She could not go back to silence. Elias pushed himself to his feet. His movements slow but strong. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Kara, listen." His voice softened. "In my world, we do not measure worth by strength of body, or by what others say. We measure by heart, by choice, by will." Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken to her like this. "Not even in her dreams," he continued. "The galaxy sees you as nothing. But I see you. You are someone. You are Kara." Her knees weakened, her eyes blurred, not from fear, but from the weight of being seen. "Truly seen," she whispered. "Why? Why do humans see different?" Elias's gaze burned with quiet fire. "Because we know what it is to be small. Fragile, outnumbered. We are not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most powerful. But we fight, we care. We choose to see worth where others see none. That is what makes us human." The words wrapped around her heart like armor. She felt herself grow taller, stronger, even as her body trembled with exhaustion. She whispered back, "Then I will stand. I will fight with you." Elias's tired smile returned. "Good. Then we are not alone." The hangar doors groaned. The night cycle shifted to day. Light poured in through broken windows. Kara stepped toward it, her head higher than ever before. The crowd outside had gathered, aliens of all kinds. They stared with wide eyes, whispers crawling like snakes through the air. There, the orphan, the human. They fought the Zyreen and lived. Kara felt their eyes like flames. For a moment, fear rose again, but Elias stood beside her. Steady as always, his hand brushed her shoulder lightly. "Walk," he said, and so she walked. Not behind, but beside. The crowd parted as they passed. Some with hatred, some with awe, some spat, some lowered their eyes, but none could deny what they had seen. The orphan who was nothing had fought, and the human had chosen her. They made their way through the station, step by step. Kara's chest swelled with something new. Not just survival, not just fear, but belonging. When they reached the great window overlooking the stars, she stopped, her eyes wide. Her whole life she had watched the stars through glass, wishing, dreaming. Now she stood taller. Her reflection beside his, she was no longer invisible. Elias followed her gaze, his voice steady. "The stars are wide. Kara, wider than this station. Wider than their hatred. If you choose, you can leave with me. We can find a place where no one calls you nothing. Her breath shook. Her whole body trembled with the weight of choice. Leave the cage. Step into the unknown. The fear of the past battled the fire of hope. And for the first time, the fire won. She nodded slowly, her voice firm, though soft. Yes, I will go. I will stand. I will be more than nothing. Elias placed a hand over his heart, then over hers. Then you are already more, he said. Tears slid down her cheeks, but she did not hide them. They were not tears of despair. They were tears of life behind them. The whispers of the station grew. Behind them, hatred still brewed, but ahead of them, the stars waited. Kara looked once more at Elias. This strange human. Different from all others, she whispered. No one saw me as female. No one wanted me. No one cared but you. You saw me, you chose me. Elias's eyes met hers, steady and unshaken, because humans are different, he said simply, and together they turned toward the stars, leaving behind the shadows of the station, stepping into a future no one had dared imagine. The orphan was no longer nothing. She was Kara, and beside one human, she was enough. The station was awake with fire. Rumors of the human and the orphan spread like sparks in dry grass. Whispers turned into anger. Anger turned into plans. The Zyreen males had gathered allies. They would not let this insult remain. Kara and Elias felt the weight of the coming storm. They walked through the markets, past glaring eyes, past muttered threats. Kara's chest tightened with every stare. Elias stayed steady, his hand never far from his weapon. They found shelter in an old hangar, abandoned and silent, rust-covered. The walls, broken ships rested like skeletons. Elias studied the place carefully, his eyes sharp, his mind already preparing. Kara watched him, her fear mixing with awe. He moved like a man who had seen battles beyond counting that night. Elias spoke to her in the dim light of a broken lamp. His voice low, serious. They will come, not just a few, many. His eyes locked on hers. We fight together, or we die alone. Kara trembled. Her body remembered hunger, loneliness, cruelty. But not war, she whispered. I am weak. Elias shook his head, firm. No, you are not weak. You are alive. That is strength. The words filled her chest like fire. She clutched the pipe she had kept from before. It was not much, but it was hers. Elias showed her simple moves. How to swing, how to block. His hands guided hers, steady and calm. She stumbled, she shook, but she learned. Hours passed, Kara's arms burned with pain. Sweat dripped down her face, but she did not stop. Every mistake was met not with laughter, but with Elias's quiet nod. Every small success earned a soft good. For the first time, training felt like hope. Then the storm arrived. The hangar doors shook with heavy blows. Voices roared outside, cruel and eager. Bring out the ghost. Bring out the human. Metal groaned under the weight of fists and claws. Kara's breath quickened. Her legs wanted to run. But Elias's voice cut through the fear. Stand with me. The doors burst open. Light flooded the dark hangar. Dozens of Zyreen stormed inside, their bodies tall, their eyes burning with rage. Weapons gleamed in their hands. The air shook with their war cries. Elias stepped forward. His weapon raised, his voice thundered. This is your only warning. Leave now. The Zyreen laughed. Their laughter sharp as blades. You will die here, human. And your pet will die with you. And the battle began. Blasts of energy lit the hangar. Shadows danced across broken ships. Elias moved like fire, his weapon striking, his body weaving. Through the chaos, each shot landed true. each strike precise. Kara stood frozen for a heartbeat, her fear choking her. Then she heard his voice, sharp and fierce. Kara. Now. Her hands tightened on the pipe. Her legs moved. She swung, striking the nearest attacker. The sound cracked like thunder. The Zyreen staggered, surprised by her courage. She swung again, her arms screaming, her heart racing. But she did not stop. Together, they fought. Elise's strength and skill carving through the enemy. Kara's courage striking where fear once lived. The Zyreen roared, their numbers pressing hard. But the human and the orphan stood like stone. Blow after blow fell. Elias's jacket tore. Blood streaked his skin, but his eyes never dimmed. He fought not only for himself, but for her. Kara's arms ached. Her body trembled, yet she swung again. Because he had given her belief, and she could not let him stand alone. The hangar shook with violence. Sparks rained from broken lights. The floor was slick with the marks of battle. One Zyreen lunged at Kara. Claws wide, she raised her pipe, bracing for pain, but Elias struck first, pulling the attacker down. His voice roared. Not her. Her chest burst with heat. It was not fear this time. It was power. She screamed and swung her weapon with all her strength. The Zyreen fell, and she stood over him, breath ragged, eyes blazing. For the first time, Kara felt alive. The battle raged on, but slowly the tide shifted. The Zyreen grew desperate. There. Shouts cracked into anger, into fear. They had come expecting an easy hunt. Instead, they found a storm, a bond stronger than claws, at last. The leader stepped forward, his body massive, his eyes burning with hatred. You think a human makes? You strong orphan, you are still nothing. His voice thundered across the hangar. Kara's body shook, but she did not step back. Her voice, trembling but firm, answered. I am not nothing. The words broke like lightning. Elias smiled through blood and sweat. Proud, the leader charged. Elias met him. The clash shook the floor. Kara raised her weapon and struck from the side. Together, they fought, blow after blow, until the leader stumbled, fell, his roar echoed. Then faded into silence. The hangar grew still. The Zyreen survivors dragged their wounded away, their eyes filled with shock. No one spoke, no one dared. The human and the orphan had stood against them and survived. Elias dropped to one knee, his breath heavy. Kara rushed to his side, her hands trembling as they touched his arm. His eyes found hers, tired but fierce. We did it, he whispered. Her heart swelled. For the first time, the word we felt real. Not a dream, not a wish. Together. They had faced death, and together they had lived. But Kara knew the battle was only the beginning. The station, the galaxy itself, would whisper of this night. Some would fear them, some would hate them. But no one could ever again say she was nothing, because she had stood, she had fought, and beside a human, she had found her strength. The station never slept. Ships came and went. Lights blinked like endless stars. Voices of thousands filled the air, but inside the broken storage room, the world was quiet, only to lives breathing, Elias and Kara. The fight was over, but its shadow remained. Kara sat with her back against the wall, her hands still shaking. The broken pipe lay near her feet. Her mind kept replaying the moment she swung it. She had never fought before, never dared. Yet, tonight, she had stood. Elias sat across from her, his arm wrapped with a strip of cloth, blood seeping through. His face was tired but calm. He had seen too many battles to fear wounds. His eyes, however, stayed fixed on Kara, watching her, studying her, as if she was more important than his own pain. Kara felt the weight of his gaze, her chest tightened. She whispered, "Why?" Her voice cracked. "Why help me?" Elias leaned his head back, staring at the cracked ceiling. For a moment, he said nothing, then he spoke softly. "Because you are not nothing." The words struck her heart again. Sharp and heavy, she lowered her head. Her eyes burned with tears she had not allowed herself in years. She tried to hide them. But Elias's voice was steady. "Let them fall," he said. "You are allowed." She closed her eyes. The tears slipped free. Not of weakness, but of release. In the silence, she let them fall. Elias did not laugh, did not turn away. He simply sat, steady as a mountain, when her tears ended. She wiped her face with shaky hands, her voice small. "All my life they told me I was nothing. Not female, not real, just a shadow." Her breath trembled. "I believed them." Elias leaned forward, his voice low but fierce. "They are wrong." His hand tapped his chest. "In my world, we see different. We do not ignore life, no matter how small." His words carried a strange fire, a human fire. Kara lifted her head slowly. Her eyes met his. In that gaze, she saw something alien yet powerful. Humans were not the strongest in the galaxy, not the fastest, not the most advanced. Yet this human carried something others did not choose: courage, the will to care when no one else did. For the first time, Kara felt warmth in her chest, not from food or survival, but from hope, fragile but real, still danger pressed against the walls. She whispered, "They will come back." Elias nodded. "Yes, and when they do, we fight again." His voice did not waver. Her eyes widened. "We," she repeated. Elias nodded once more. Together, the word shook her. Together, never. Before had she been included, never before had someone said she was part of a we. All her life she was alone, unseen, unwanted, and now this human stood beside her, calling her part of something. Hours passed slowly, but a new bond grew in the silence. Kara watched as Elias repaired his weapon, his hands moving with steady skill. She asked questions in a whisper. He answered simply, patiently, never mocking her ignorance. He showed her how to check the weapon, how to hold it. Her hands trembled at first, but he guided them, gentle, calm. His touch was not cruel, not commanding. It was steady, teaching, respectful. Kara felt her fear bend into something else: strength. Small but growing, she realized he was not only protecting her, he was preparing her. He was giving her something no one else ever had the chance to fight for herself. That night, as she lay on the cold floor, she felt the hum of the station below her, the endless stars above, yet she no longer felt like a ghost drifting between worlds. She felt tethered, grounded. Because one human had chosen to see her, but outside their small sanctuary. Whispers spread. The Zyreen spoke of revenge. Other aliens whispered too. Some mocked the human for protecting a worthless orphan. Others watched with suspicion, wondering what power lay in a human who dared to defy Zyreen pride. Kara did not know of these whispers. She only knew the quiet bond building between her and Elias. She only knew that for the first time. She was not alone in the middle of the night. She woke suddenly. Elias was still awake, sitting near the door, his weapon close. His eyes scanned the darkness. His body was always ready. Yet when he looked at her, his gaze softened. "Rest," he said quietly. "I will keep watch." She wanted to argue, to tell him he needed rest too. But when she saw the fire in his eyes, she understood. He was not just protecting her with weapons. He was protecting her with his presence, his will, his promise. Slowly, she lay back down. Her heart beat calmer. Her last thought before sleep was not of fear, but of trust. When morning cycle began, the station filled with noise again. Kara and Elias stepped out of the room together. The crowd turned to stare. Whispers followed them like shadows. Some in disbelief, some in anger, some in fear. Kara lowered her head, but Elias placed a hand lightly on her shoulder, steadying her, guiding her through. "Walk," he said softly. "Do not hide." Her legs trembled. But she obeyed. She walked beside him. Not behind. For the first time, she felt the weight of every stair. But she did not crumble. She held her head a little higher, not because she believed in herself yet, but because he believed in her. The Zyreen would return. Enemies were gathering. She knew the storm was not over. But something inside her whispered that she was no longer a shadow. She was no longer nothing, with Elias at her side. She was beginning to see herself as someone worth standing for. The station lights dimmed as night cycle began. Shadows stretched across the metal corridors. The hum of the engines echoed like a giant heartbeat. For most, it was only another night. For Kara, it was the heaviest night of her life. She sat close to Elias in the small abandoned room he had found. It was old, dusty, with broken crates and weak lights, but for Kara, it felt safer than any place she had ever known. Elias sat against the wall, his eyes half closed, his lip still. Bleeding, his jacket torn, yet his presence was steady. Kara watched him in silence. The fight with the Zyreen replayed in her mind again and again. She could not forget how he had stood between her and danger. She could not forget how his voice had called her not nothing. That one word had burned itself deep into her heart. Still, her chest tightened with fear. She knew the Zyreen would not stop. They would return, stronger, crueler. The shadows outside felt heavy with their whispers. Elias opened his eyes. He looked at her and spoke softly. "You are safe with me." His voice was calm. But Kara could see the sharpness in his gaze. He knew as well as she did danger was coming. Kara whispered, "They will come again." Elias nodded slowly. "Yes," he answered, "but we fight." His words were simple, his tone unshaken. Kara's heart shook. She was not a fighter. She was small, weak. She had only learned to run and hide. The idea of standing in battle was like asking her to hold back the stars themselves. Impossible. Yet, when she looked into his eyes, she saw no fear, only resolve. The hours passed slowly. Kara dozed lightly, waking at every sound. Elias never truly slept, his hand always near his weapon, his ears sharp to every whisper of the station. He was a man who carried war inside him. And then the danger came. The door of the room hissed, metal grinding. A heavy thud echoed in the silence. Elias's eyes snapped open. His hand moved instantly to his weapon. He stood before Kara like a wall. The door burst open, and shadows poured inside. The Zyreen had returned, but this time they were not three. They were many. Their tall bodies filled the room. Their eyes glowed with cruel joy. There, one sneered, pointing at Kara, the worthless one and the human fool. Their laughter cracked like thunder. Kara's chest froze. Her breath caught. The walls closed in, too many, too strong. Her old instincts screamed, hide, vanish, disappear. But Elias's voice cut through the storm, firm and sharp, behind. "Me." She obeyed, pressing against the wall. Elias drew his weapon. A compact human sidearm, its metal gleaming in the weak light. The Zyreen laughed again. "You think that little toy will stop us?" They advanced, claws ready. Elias did not answer. He moved fast. His weapon fired with a flash. A blast of energy lit the room. One Zyreen dropped. The smell of burned air thick. The others roared with fury. They rushed him together. The room exploded into chaos. Blows landed. Shouts echoed. Elias fought with precision. His weapon struck. His fists struck. His boots struck. He moved like a storm. Each strike fueled by will, not rage, Kara's eyes widened. She had never seen anything like it. She had seen Zyreen fight before, brutal and careless. But Elias fought with control, with purpose. Each move was meant to protect, yet numbers pressed him back. A claw ripped across his arm. He gritted his teeth, blood dripping, but he did not fall. He pushed forward, his body refusing to break. One Zyreen broke past him. Rushing toward Kara, her heart screamed, her body shook. She had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. For the first time in her life, she did not lower her head. She grabbed a broken metal pipe from the floor. Her hands trembled, her legs weak, but she raised it high as the Zyreen lunged. She swung with all the strength she had. The sound cracked through the room. The attacker staggered, surprised. Kata's arms burned. Her body shook, but she did not drop the pipe. Her eyes, wide and terrified, held fire for the first time. Elias saw her stand, and something fierce lit his face. He struck harder, his voice a growl. Together, they pushed back. A fragile alliance. Human strength and orphan courage. The Zyreen cursed, retreating one by one. Their leader hissed, "This is not over. Human. Next time, you both die." With that, they melted back into the shadows, leaving only silence. The room smelled of smoke, blood and sweat. Elias leaned against the wall, his chest rising fast. His arm bleeding, his face pale, but his eyes found Kara, and he gave a small nod. "Strong," he said simply. Kara's body shook. The pipe clattered to the floor, her chest heaved. Her mind could not believe what she had done. She had stood. She had fought, for the first time. She had not run. She stared at Elias, her heart bursting with something new. It was not only gratitude, it was not only fear. It was the sharp realization that with him, she was more than a shadow. She was someone. But the danger had grown. The Zyreen would not stop now. The fight tonight had marked them. From this moment on, both Kara and Elias were hunted. Still, as she looked at him, bleeding but unbroken, she felt the fire inside her grow. The orphan, who had once been invisible, now stood beside a human, and together they had survived the first storm. The station's corridors were always alive with noise. Engines roared in the distance. Merchants shouted prices. Footsteps echoed on the metal floors. But for Kara, the world felt quiet now. For the first time, someone had chosen to walk beside her, Elias, the human. Still, her heart battled itself. One side whispered trust, the other shouted fear. She had been tricked before. She had been offered smiles only to be beaten later. She had been shown kindness only to feel claws tear at her skin. Could this human be any different? Elias walked calmly, his hand loose but steady, guiding her through the crowd. He did not push her. He did not drag her. He simply stayed near, always watching. Kara could feel his eyes checking corners, scanning faces. His movements carried the weight of someone who had survived battles. She wondered who he truly was, a soldier, a wanderer, a mercenary. His jacket carried no clear symbol. His weapons looked worn but cared for. He moved like a man used to danger, yet his voice when he spoke was soft, safe. He reminded her again when he saw her trembling. But Kara's mind screamed, could anyone be safe near her? The Zyreen males were not far. They stalked in the shadows, their eyes filled with jealousy and rage. For them, Kara was a joke. For them, the human was an insult. They muttered dark plans. Waiting for the right moment, Elias seemed to sense this. He led Kara into a quieter passage, away from the markets. The walls there were cracked, the lights flickered, but it was empty. He stopped and turned to her. "You trust me?" he asked slowly. His words were clear, heavy with meaning. Kara lowered her head, her chest tightened. She wanted to trust, her heart begged her to. but her scars were deep. I do not know, she whispered. Her voice broke like glass. Elias studied her face. He did not rush her answer. He simply nodded, as if saying it was enough. He pulled out another packet of food and handed it to her. Eat, he said. She hesitated, then took it. The taste filled her again with warmth. Her body remembered hunger, but her spirit remembered something new: care. Still, doubt coiled inside her. Why was he here? Why her? Humans were rare on this station. They traveled the stars, but rarely stayed. What did he see in her that no Zyreen ever did while she wrestled with these questions? Footsteps echoed, harsh, heavy, angry. Elias turned quickly. His hand rested on the weapon at his side. His eyes narrowed. From the shadows stepped 3 Zyreen males. Their bodies tall and strong, their faces twisted into cruel smiles. They spread out, blocking the path. One of them laughed. The ghost found a pet, a human pet, his words dripped with poison. Kara shrank back. Her body pressed against the wall. Fear rushed through her like fire. She had lived this moment too many times. The insults, the cruelty, the helplessness. But Elias did not move back. He stepped forward. Placing himself between Kara and the Zyreen, his voice came out low, calm, but sharp like steel. Leave. The Zyreen laughed louder. Human, you do not know what she is. She is nothing. Not even female. Do you want filth as company? Their words were blades meant to cut Kara's soul. She lowered her head. Her heart screamed. She wanted to vanish. She wanted to sink into the floor, but Elias did not step aside. His body was a shield. His voice rose, stronger. She is not nothing, the Zyreen sneered. You defend her, then you are nothing too. One of them moved closer. Elias's hand tightened on his weapon. The air grew thick, the moment sharp as a knife. Kara's breath came fast. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run, but her feet were frozen. Her eyes stayed on Elias. Why, she thought? Why fight for me? The Zyreen lunged, and Elias moved. His arms swung fast, striking the first attacker. The sound echoed against the metal walls. The fight had begun. The station's silence broke into chaos. Elias moved with skill, every strike controlled, every step measured. He was not wild. He was precise. He had fought before, many times. His body remembered battles. His will burned like fire. Kara watched. With wide eyes, her heart raced. She had seen fights before. Always cruel, always bloody. But this was different. This was not about pride. Not about showing power. This was about protection. The Zyreen were strong. But Elias fought with speed. He dodged, struck, blocked. His fists and boots landed with force. The attackers growled, confused by his skill. Still, they were many. They pushed him back. One grabbed his arm. Another swung a heavy fist. Elias staggered, but did not fall. His eyes flicked to Kara for only a moment. Then he shouted, "Run!" But Kara could not move. Her body shook. Her mind screamed to obey, but her legs betrayed her. She whispered, "No, not to him." Not to herself, but to the universe that always told her to hide. For the first time, something inside her resisted. She could not leave him. He had not left her. Elias fought harder. His strength fading, but his will unbroken. With a final strike, he pushed the attackers back. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. The Zyreen cursed, retreating into the shadows. Their voices echoed. This is not over. Human, you will regret this. Silence returned. Elias turned. His lip was cut, his jacket torn, but his eyes still held fire. He looked at Kara. Safe. He whispered again, even though he was bleeding. Her heart broke. No one had ever fought for her. No one had ever bled for her. In that moment, she realized the truth. This human was different. He saw her. He valued her, yet she also knew the danger was only growing. The Zyreen would return, stronger, and next time. Hiding might not be enough. The human stood in the dim light of the station corridor. His boots were worn, his jacket patched in many places. He looked like a traveler who had seen too many worlds. His eyes, however, were alive with something Kara had never known: kindness. He did not look away when he saw her. He did not sneer, did not spit, did not laugh. Instead, tilted his head as if she was a puzzle, as if she mattered. Kara froze. Her body stiffened like stone. She had learned long ago that attention brought pain, but this time the gaze felt different. His eyes were sharp, yes, but not cruel. They were curious, steady, almost warm. For a long moment, neither moved. The station around them was busy. Footsteps echoed, voices shouted, machines roared. Yet, in that single corner, it felt as if the universe had paused. The human reached into a pouch on his side. Slowly, carefully, he pulled out something small. It was a piece of food, wrapped in a thin cover. He held it out to her. Kara blinked. No one had ever offered her food. She stared at the gift as if it was a trick. She whispered in her own tongue, "Why?" But no sound carried out. Her throat was too dry. The human smiled just a little. He pushed the food closer. "Hungry?" he asked softly. His voice was deep but gentle, simple words. Kara hesitated, her stomach twisted with need. But her heart whispered of danger. She looked at his hands. Strong but not striking. His posture steady but not threatening. Finally, she reached out. Her thin fingers trembled as they touched the packet. The human let go. He did not pull back. He did not mock her shaking hands. Kara brought the food close. She smelled it, warm, rich, far better than scraps she stole from bins. She bit into it, and her whole body shook with surprise. Flavor, real flavor, filled her mouth. She had not tasted anything so alive in years. She ate fast, almost too fast. The human watched without judgment. When she was done, she licked her fingers. Afraid to waste even a crumb, her eyes flicked. Up meeting his gaze, he nodded, as if saying, "Good." Then he crouched down. Bringing himself closer to her height, he spoke again. Name. Kara hesitated. Her name felt small, broken. Yet something in his tone made her answer. "Kara." She whispered, almost afraid of the sound. The human's mouth curved, not into laughter, but into respect. "Kara." He repeated slowly, as if the word was valuable, as if her name was not a curse but a treasure. She stared at him, confused. Why did he care? Why did he say her name? Like it mattered. No Zyreen had ever done that. They called her ghost, shadow, nothing but this human. He called her Kara. She whispered back, "You?" Her eyes asked the question she could not speak. He touched his chest with a hand. "Elias," he said. His voice carried a strength that matched the name, Elias. The two sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the station noise continued. But inside that silence, a bridge was forming, a thin bridge, fragile, but real. Yet not everyone welcomed this sight. Across the corridor, hidden in the crowd, eyes were watching, harsh, jealous eyes. Zyreen males who had mocked Kara before. They whispered to each other. Why would a human waste time on her? Their voices carried a poison. Elias noticed the stares. His jaw tightened. He had been in too many places not to know danger when it looked at him. He leaned closer to Kara. "Safe," he said quietly. "Stay close." Kara blinked. The word safe was not one she ever trusted. Yet hearing it from him sent a strange warmth into her chest. Could she really be safe near him? The Zyreen watchers stepped away, planning. Their eyes promised trouble later. Elias stood slowly. He looked down at Kara, then stretched out a hand. "Come," he said simply. Her heart pounded. No one had ever offered her a hand. No one had ever asked her to come with them. She hesitated. Her whole body screamed caution, but her heart whispered louder. She placed her hand in his, small and trembling. Elias's grip was firm, not crushing, steady. He helped her stand. Her legs shook. Unused to support, he walked, and she followed. Together, they moved through the noisy market of the station. Aliens turned to stare. Some muttered, some pointed. To see a human with Kara was shocking. She felt every gaze like a burning flame. Her old fear returned, but each time she wanted to run. Elias's hand held hers steady. He led her to a quiet corner, away from the crowd. He gave her water, clean and cool. She drank. Her throat, dry for so long, finally felt alive again. Then he spoke more words. Slow, simple, so she could understand. "Alone?" he asked, pointing to her chest. "Family?" Her eyes darkened. She shook her head. "No." "Family?" she whispered. The words cut even now. Elias's face softened. His eyes carried something new, sorrow. He understood. He did not laugh. He did not walk away. Instead, he said, "Not nothing." His hand tapped her chest gently. "You, Kara." Her breath caught. Not nothing. For so long, she had been told. She was less than air, but here was a human who said she was something. She was Kara. She looked at him, her eyes wide, her heart racing. She did not know what future waited. But she knew this. Her life had changed the moment Elias had stopped and seen her. Yet shadows still watched from afar. The Zyreen males were not done. They whispered of punishment, of removing the human fool and the worthless orphan. Kara did not know it yet, but this kindness had painted a target on both of them. A bond was forming, but danger was coming. The great space station of Vera floated in the dark sea of stars. It was huge, with towers of shining metal and endless lights blinking like fireflies. To most travelers, it was a place of trade and adventure. To others, it was only a place to hide. In the forgotten lower decks of this station lived a small alien orphan. Her name was Kara. She belonged to the Zyreen, a proud species of tall and strong beings. But Kara was different. She was small, thin, and weak. Her skin carried strange pale marks, and her eyes were softer than the others. The Zyreen saw her as nothing, not male, not female, not worthy of any place in their society. She was born after a war, left with no parents, no family. The Zyreen people believed the weak should not survive. They looked at her with cold eyes. They whispered, "She is not even a real female." They said she was useless. They said no one would ever want her. So Kara learned to hide. She moved quietly between the shadows. She searched for food in the waste bins. She wrapped herself in old cloth too. Keep warm. She never spoke to anyone, because whenever she tried, they turned away. She watched other Zyreen females walk with grace, tall and proud. Their eyes were bright. Their steps were strong. The males admired them, but no one looked at Kara. She was invisible. And the more invisible she became, the more she felt like a ghost at night. She sat near the great glass window of the lower decks. From there, she could see the stars, endless, shining, free. She dreamed of leaving the station. She dreamed of flying among those stars. But dreams were the only gift life allowed her. Every day was a fight for survival when she was hungry. Her stomach cried like an empty cave. When she was cold, her body shook under thin rags. Sometimes gangs of other aliens chased her, laughing, throwing scraps at her. Poor creature, not even worth the trouble. They shouted, Kara ran. But their words stayed like knives inside her heart. Still, she never cried in front of them. In the shadows, when no one could see, she let her tears fall. She whispered to herself, maybe one day, someone will see me. Maybe one day, someone will care. But day after day, no one came. The station was full of life for others. Merchants shouted their prices. Ships landed with fire and smoke. Soldiers marched. Engineers worked with glowing machines. The whole place was alive with voices, with laughter, with anger. Yet in all that noise, Kara's life was silent. She was not only unwanted, she was unseen. Even the station security brushed past her as if she was air. Even the beggars refused to sit near her. They called her cursed. They said the stars had turned their faces away from her. And so, the orphan girl lived in silence. Only the hum of the engines kept her company. Only the stars outside reminded her that something greater existed. Something beyond this prison of metal and shadows. One evening, as she wandered through the broken corridors, she heard voices. The Zyreen males were laughing. Their words echoed cruel and sharp. She will never be chosen. Not by anyone. She is no female. She is nothing. Kara pressed her back against the wall. She closed her eyes. She tried to breathe quietly. She did not want to be seen, but their laughter followed her, even when they were gone. The sound of it burned inside her. She felt heavy, as if her heart was made of stone. She whispered to herself, "Why was I born, if no one wants me, if no one will ever see me?" Her nights became longer. The station lights blinked, but her world was always dim. She thought of running away, but where could she go? She had no ship, no money, not even a friend. The universe was endless, but for Kara it was a cage. Yet, inside her, a small fire still lived. She did not know why. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was the stars calling to her, but some part of her refused to give up. Every morning she woke up, she searched for food again. She survived again. She told herself, if I survive today, maybe tomorrow will change. She told herself, if I keep walking, maybe one day someone will stop. And then, one night, as she sat near the glass window, watching the stars, she felt something strange. A shadow moved behind her, a step, soft but real. She turned her head, expecting another cruel alien, expecting more harsh words, but it was not a Zyreen. It was not a voice of cruelty. It was something she had never seen before, a human. The human looked at her with curious eyes. His clothes were dusty from travel, his hands strong but not cruel. He carried no laughter of mockery, no gaze of rejection. For the first time in her life, someone's eyes rested on her as if she was real. And in that moment, Kara felt her heart beat faster. She did not know what this human wanted. She did not know why he looked at her, but deep inside, she felt that this meeting would change everything. No one saw the poor alien orphan as a female. No one wanted her, no one cared, until now.